We're going to take you live now to Albury, where Opposition Leader Sussan Ley is speaking.
They deserve answers. They deserve honesty. They deserve leadership. What is Anthony Albanese hiding?
Like you mentioned, business leaders and Catholic clergy have most recently jumped on supporting calls for a royal commission. Can the PM hold out much longer?
The Prime Minister called for unity in the early days after the Bondi massacre. Today, we have unity. We have unity of purpose, and we have unity in a request for this Commonwealth Royal Commission. And it crosses all sectors of society, and it crosses through every area where ordinary Australians have made their voices clear. And most importantly, it is above politics, because people who might identify with different sides of politics in the past, in the present, have all come together. So if the Prime Minister, representing Australia, wants to listen to the voice of Australia, he has it loud and clear today.
You mentioned coming together. Independent MP Allegra Spender has called for a cabinet-level minister for social cohesion, which comes after Anthony Albanese axed his special envoy for social cohesion in a reshuffle after the election in May. Was that a mistake, and should the PM reinstate that position?
The Prime Minister is the leader of his government and the leader of this nation. He has always had the power to act on anti-Semitism. He has the power now. The decisions that his government has made, particularly since October the 7th, 2023, and the implications of those decisions are reflected in the events that we see in fraying social cohesion today. And we have pointed to that social cohesion fraying since October the 7th in so many examples, in so many areas of Australian civil society. And the government has not listened to the appeals from Jewish Australians, from the wider Australian community, about the hatred that has been allowed to fester and grow. And the Prime Minister has always had the power to do something. In avoiding a Commonwealth Royal Commission, he is clearly avoiding the real call to action, to do what needs to be done to respond to anti-Semitism and to shine a light on what we have seen in this country that has indeed frayed social cohesion in an unacceptable way. That is not the Australia we have all come to know and love.
Australia's Abrams tanks are now being used on the front line in Ukraine. Does the government need to offer more support?
The government should always stand ready to support the illegal occupation of Ukraine by the USSR, by the Soviet Union. And unfortunately, it's taken too long to provide this support in the form of the Abrams tanks. So we will always stand there to encourage the government and to push the government to do more and to do more sooner.
Just on the beef tariffs, should Don Farrell be getting on a plane to Beijing to resolve them?
The Prime Minister should be getting on the phone to his Chinese counterpart and make it very clear indeed that the excuses that he gave yesterday with respect to beef tariffs will not cut it with Australians, and they certainly won't cut it with Australian farmers, who I am proud to represent here in rural Australia. For the Prime Minister to say, oh well, everyone is affected by this, we haven't been singled out, is pathetic. What he needs to do is step right up, call his counterparts, have the conversation with President Xi. He says he has a good relationship with President Xi. He needs to call on that relationship now, and he needs to make it very clear that Australia will not accept a $1 billion hit to our bottom line when it comes to our incredible beef industry, an export industry that has shaped international trade flows with respect to the commodities that we produce, and most particularly the trade with China. It is not good enough to use excuses that we have seen to date.
Looking ahead to 2026 for the Coalition, there's expectation the Liberal Party's review into the May 3rd election loss under Peter Dutton will be released this month. When and how will these findings? When and how will these findings be released?
Wait for the sound.
Yeah.
The release of the report into the last election campaign is a matter for the party, and I refer those questions to our party organisation.
When can we expect to see your immigration policy announcement, which had been put on ice after the Bondi attack?
Our immigration announcement will be coming forward in due course and clearly requires additional consideration following the evident failures of this government when it comes to not acting in the strongest possible way to ensure that people who come to this country are properly assessed and screened for the values, the ideals and the contribution to Australia that must be front and centre of any immigrant to this country.
And back onto beef, should the Prime Minister raise beef imports when Premier Ley visits Australia?
The Prime Minister should not be waiting for official visits, which are always surrounded by a level of official functionality, if I can call it that. This is something that is too important to wait until the next official visit. This is something that needs to be raised right now. Now, I pointed to a Prime Minister in hiding. Every time he steps out of wherever he is, he's asked the very important question that all Australians are unified around today, and that is, why will he not call a Commonwealth Royal Commission into the Bondi terror attack and anti-Semitism in Australia? Now, he needs to address this urgently, and then he needs to get on with the business of being the Prime Minister of this country. And that includes acting on issues like beef tariffs. It includes addressing cost of living increases that are crippling many Australian households. It includes addressing the failures of his energy policy that mean that electricity prices are set to continue to rise and are becoming even more unaffordable for households. It means addressing what, unfortunately, households are staring down the barrel of with respect to interest rate rises just around the corner. Australians are struggling, and they have a Prime Minister who is not fronting up and giving them the answers they need, the honesty they deserve, and the leadership that the nation requires.
Just a local question. You've mentioned that a focus for you for 2026 will be the water policy for your local electorate. How will your current position help you advocate for that, and what is it that you'll be pushing for 2026?
I'm very proud to represent irrigated agriculture in the Southern Murray-Darling Basin, and I know that we have a government in Canberra that not only doesn't visit our incredible farmers who produce food and fibre for the nation and the world, they don't actually understand them either. And the latest water buyback is a demonstration of that. So every single day that I'm in Canberra, I will always be arguing for a water policy that looks after our farmers and looks after the environment. The balanced basin plan that we had when we were in office, that was agreed with across jurisdictions and across the Parliament. It's been ripped up by this government. Shame on them. Thank you.
Opposition Leader Sussan Ley there in Albury, New South Wales, talking about the Albanese government not listening when it comes to the hatred growing regarding anti-Semitism and also regarding the call-outs for the Royal Commission. What is he hiding? She said, she also spoke about the beef tariffs from China and said that Anthony Albanese really needs to pick up the phone and talk to President Xi, and that we don't accept the $1 billion export industry cut that they are looking at, which of course was announced yesterday. We'll have more on that throughout the day.